world and make it a better place. For all those who have served and are still serving, thank you from the staff of News Eatery.
Hello everybody, we're going to hit you up with another presidential election. We are finally in the 20th century, the election of 1900. William McKinley going for the second term. Can he get it done? Let's find that out right now. Now we're going to start off with the incumbent party, and that is the Republican Party. William McKinley, the incumbent of Ohio. He is easily going to win nomination for a second term, but his vice presidential spot is open because Garrett Hobart dies in 1899, so McKinley is looking for a new running mate and doesn't have to look very far because he finds one in New York. Thomas C. Platt, who is the sort of boss of the New York State Republican Party, wants to get rid of this pain in the butt guy named Teddy Roosevelt. He was the popular governor of New York. He was a reform governor, and his efforts to reform New York politics as well as Republican politics led Platt and other state Republican leaders to pressure McKinley to accept Teddy Roosevelt as his running mate, just to get him out of New York. And although Teddy Roosevelt was reluctant to accept the vice presidency, which he regarded as a relatively trivial and powerless office, his great popularity among most Republican delegates led McKinley to pick him, so Teddy Roosevelt is going to run as McKinley's running mate. And that is going to come into play in the campaign. Vice presidential choices sometimes do matter, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Now that we have a Republican ticket in McKinley and Teddy Roosevelt, McKinley going for the second term, let's take a look at the Democrats. Now the Democrats putting up their own slate of candidates. William Jennings Bryan of Nebraska, the Admiral of the Navy, George Dewey of Vermont, one of the notable people of the Spanish-American War, which we'll talk about in just a second. But we also have Augustus Van Wyck of New York and William J. Stone of Missouri. Stone and Wyck end up declining the nomination. Dewey withdraws in May, so really no opposition is left. William Jennings Bryan is going to once again be nominated by the Democratic Party as president, and is going to bring along for the ride Adlai Stevenson, the first Grover Cleveland's vice president in his second term, as his running mate, which sets us up for it. Ding 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 ding. Very much. We have a Republican ticket, McKinley, Teddy Roosevelt. Our Democratic ticket, Bryan Stevenson. Rematch is here. Let's get to the campaign. Now, the economy was booming by the time 1900 rolls around, so the Republican slogan of 4 more years of the full dinner pail, combined with victory in the brief Spanish-American War in 1898, had a powerful electoral appeal. The Spanish-American War began after the sinking of the USS Maine in Havana Harbor on February 15, 1898. Historians debate that it was probably a mechanical failure that sunk the USS Maine rather than a Spanish landmine, like the sensationalized newspapers were making it out to be. But this still increased Americans' calls for war against Spain, and in April, President McKinley declares war on Spain. It's a very short war, only lasts about a few months, but the Americans do become an empire. Even though they arrived late in the game as far as imperialism is concerned, they become an empire, a Pacific empire, Caribbean empire, so to speak. They have Cuba for a little while, but they pick up Puerto Rico, they pick up Guam, they pick up the Philippines. So the last of the Spanish Empire is coming to an end. Teddy Roosevelt had become a national fighting hero. In Cuba during the war, he resigned his position as the Assistant Secretary of the Navy, and he led a cavalry of American troops called the Rough Riders in Cuba. And as such, he was a popular spokesman for the Republican ticket. Roosevelt proved highly energetic and an equal match for William Jennings Bryan's famous barnstorming of campaigning. Teddy Roosevelt's theme is that McKinley had brought America peace and prosperity and deserved re-election. In a whirlwind campaign, Teddy Roosevelt made 480 stops in 23 states. In his speeches, he repeatedly argued that the war had been just and had liberated the Cubans and Filipinos from Spanish tyranny. He said, 4 years ago, the nation was uneasy because at our very doors in American Island was writhing in hideous agony under a worse than medieval despotism. We had our Armenia at our threshold. The situation in Cuba had become such that we could no longer stand quiet and retain one shred of self-respect. We drew the sword and waged the most righteous and brilliantly successful foreign war that this generation has seen. Now, Teddy Roosevelt, he also brings youth to the campaign. He's in his early 40s at this point. Now, Bryan's campaign was built around a reprise of his major issue from 1896, and that is free silver. Now, it was not as successful in 1900 because prosperity had replaced severe depression, and McKinley claimed credit for this happening. Advocates of enlarging the money supply to raise prices had to admit that a great deal of new gold was flowing into the world economy, and deflation was no longer a threat. Now, Bryan's second major campaign theme attacked McKinley's imperialism. Now, Bryan had supported the war with Spain, but opposed the annexation of the Philippines. He said McKinley had just simply replaced cruel Spanish tyranny with a cruel American one. Bryan was especially harsh in his criticisms of the American military effort to suppress the bloody rebellion by Filipino guerrillas, and this theme won over some previous opponents, especially hard-money Germans, former gold Democrats, and anti-imperialists such as Andrew Carnegie. Now, both candidates repeated their 1896 campaign techniques. William Jennings Bryan, he canvasses the country, while William McKinley ends up staying home, but Teddy Roosevelt matches William Jennings Bryan in the campaigning methods, as they both canvass the country.
I just wanted to say, Geico is proud to have served the military for over 75 years.
Now, the triumph of the American Army and Navy in the war against Spain was a decisive factor in building Republican support. Democrats tried to argue that the war was not over because of the insurgency in the Philippines. This became the major issue. A perception that the Philippine-American War was coming to an end would be an electoral asset for the Republicans, and the McKinley administration stated that there were reductions of troops there. Republicans pledged that the fighting in the Philippines would die down of its own accord within 60 days in McKinley's election. Now, in addition, Secretary of War Elihu Root had a report from Arthur MacArthur Jr., a general, who had been in command of the Philippines for 4 months. This was not released. This was a report dated September 1900, but this was not released until after the election, and it warned Washington that the war was not lessening and that the end was not even in sight. MacArthur believed that the guerrilla stage of the war was just beginning, and that Filipinos were refining their techniques through experience. Furthermore, Philippine leader Emilio Aguinaldo's strategy had popular support, and MacArthur wrote, quote, "The success of this unique system of war depends upon almost complete unity of the entire native population. That such unity is a fact is too obvious to admit a discussion. How it is brought about and maintained is not so plain. Intimidation has undoubtedly accomplished much to this end, but fear as the only motive is hardly sufficient to account for the united and apparently spontaneous action of several millions of people. One traitor in each town will eventually destroy such a complex organization. It is more probable that the adhesive principle comes from mythological homogeneity. which induces men to respond for a time to the appeals of consensuous leadership, even when such action is opposed to their interests and convictions of expediency. Now, nonetheless, despite this letter being released, the majority of soldiers in the Philippines did not support Bryan. Any mention of the election in 1900 in the soldiers' letters and diaries indicated overwhelming support for the Republican ticket of McKinley and Teddy Roosevelt. And despite Bryan's energetic efforts, it really did not work due to the renewed prosperity under the McKinley administration, combined with the public's approval of the Spanish-American War. And with that, let's get to the results. William McKinley and the Republicans are going to win a second term. McKinley's going to win 292 electoral votes to 155 for William Jennings Bryan and the Democrats. McKinley and the Republicans going to carry 28 states to Bryan's 17. In terms of the popular vote, it is 51.6% for McKinley and 45.5% for William Jennings Bryan. Now, McKinley is not going to last very long in his second term, and we'll talk about how that is in the election in 1904 next time. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't seen any of my previous videos, go ahead and watch those if you want. And with that, we will see you next time.